Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Today, I have a special guest. She is the founder and CEO of Just Her Rideshare out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Self-described servant of others, a wife, and a mother, Kimberly Evans. Hello, Kimberly. How are you?
Hi, Baxter. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I am so happy to be able to learn more about your journey, but then also share it with other people because, you know, I say this often, I get $0 per episode, whether it's zero or $1 million an episode. I want to talk to people that I want to talk to and people that inspire me. And I'm hoping that, I'm not the only one that's inspired. So thank you for joining.
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation with you. So let's get at it.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So just her ride share. Um, I I'll give you my impression, then I'll shut up and let you talk. But just as far as the things that I know so far, it's really to provide a safe space for women, right? Not only as passengers, but also an opportunity for women to work and to provide, to make additional income in an area that can be unsafe, right? It's just a lot of whenever you open it up to the public and you're dealing with public, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I know that there's a number of other aspects to it, but when I think about it, it feels, it's really for the service and the safety of women, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Just Her Rideshare is a rideshare community of women drivers and riders. Simply because we wanted to create a safe space, but not only just a safe space, but we wanted to create sort of an empowerment for women to be able to choose who they wanted to ride with them as well as drive, right?
Mm,
So we know that now there are no choices. We know that statistically, there are a lot of assaults against women in this industry, with some of the top leading companies that have resulted in, physical abuse, sexual assault, even murder, which is something that happened very close to in proximity to where I live.
mm.
And so, yeah, so we wanted just to create this safe space for women because no one else was doing it. And so we felt, hey, the solution is simple to us. We'll do it and we'll
Yeah.
give women the opportunity to choose.
How did the idea come about? Like, how was it sort of birthed, and what made you decide, you know what, this is something I want to tackle?
So, great question, Baxter. Just Her Rideshare was actually birthed out of pain and disappointment from a broken business partnership.
Mm,
You know, just, I got into partnership with someone who we wanted to sort of, again, travel this journey. And about 10 months into the project, she decided she no longer wanted to move forward. But by that time, God had already started to give me vision to create, to use this platform to not only create a rideshare community, but to be able to connect with women. And so I prayed, I fasted for about 3 weeks, and I didn't know if I wanted to move forward until I got clearance that it was
mm,
time to move forward. And so the idea, that's how Just Her Rideshare was birthed.
mm.
And I just knew that it was something that I had to continue because I could see so much vision and mission around what we were doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, purpose does come out of pain. And many
Absolutely.
times, a lot of us walk away from our dreams and our aspirations when it gets tough, when it gets
Mm.
hard, when it hurts a little bit. But, to get to the ultimate goal, sometimes you just got to push through and you got to
Yeah.
keep going. So, literally, it took about 30 days to kind of relaunch and sort of move a little bit in a different direction, but to continue on the path that God had showed me. And yeah, I mean, in 30 days, we were like up and running. I'd raised my first $25,000. And so we were literally right in the place where we knew God wanted us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think about that often, and I would just love to get your opinion on, I'm such an optimist, right? And I believe in God. I believe that, that sometimes it ain't easy, and most time it ain't, right? And so sometimes, like for example, you have a meeting to go to, and it's raining, and it's a thunderstorm, and some people may say, ah, that's a sign that it's not going to be a good meeting. In my brain, I think, no, no, there's some really great stuff on the other side of this. And that's why it's raining, so that I can, maybe appreciate it even more, right? Like, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but like, how do you determine the the impediments that you face? How do you determine if that's a sign to kind of stop something versus like, no, no, this means that there's a sort of an awesome breakthrough on the other end?
Well, it's interesting you would say that because sometimes I'm very optimistic, but sometimes because I'm very cerebral, and I'm very analytical. A lot of times, some people see the glass half full or half empty. I see it both, right? If that's possible, but I'm always going to weigh out a situation. I'm always gonna, because I think sort of like one thing begets another thing. There's a
Sure.
cause and effect. But the thing that I've learned is a lot of times you cannot allow it to stop you from moving forward.
Mm.
Like, I believe that you have to continue to experience the journey. So if I wake up one day and I have an amazing meeting, and it is pouring, raining, or the sky has fallen or whatever, I feel like continuing that meeting, regardless of what happens, if I have enough courage and strength to keep going and trust the process, that whatever happens is supposed to happen,
Yeah.
because ultimately I get to choose how I handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really, I don't really allow anything sort of to stop me. Now, I'm not saying that I don't ever get discouraged,
Yeah.
or I don't ever think, wow, maybe I shouldn't be going down that path, because I'm always seeking guidance from
Yeah.
God about what I should do and where I should go. And sometimes I do get caught up in, okay, is that him speaking? Is that God speaking? Or is that me? Is
Yeah.
that, but I have to trust the process. And part of trusting a process is also trusting myself to handle whatever outcome it is,
Mm.
whether good, bad, or indifferent, whether it is the worst mistake I could have made, whether it is the worst decision I could have made, because I've done that before, and you'll
Yeah.
do that in business as entrepreneurs, but you have to continue to keep moving and know that you can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I had a conversation. I was dropping my 8-year-old off this morning. We were talking about these experiences that we have are sort of like, you know, trading cards, are like puzzle pieces, and as we, kind of grab and acquire more of these, we get into these other moments, and we go, oh, no, 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 I recognize this, right? And then we can kind of go reference it, something else that, that
Yeah.
prior experience. And I told her, just because you get old doesn't mean that you are really acquiring those pieces, right? You may be dismissing them or disregarding them, and they're important to your what's next.
Yes.
And we don't always appreciate it until we're looking for it and realize we left it behind, right? We didn't really learn that lesson. So back to Just Her Rideshare. So uh, based out of Charlotte, and but you have plans already for sort of going into different markets, right? Like, tell me about sort of what's going on in the Charlotte market, and then things that you can kind of discuss as far as any potential like growth in different regions, states, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So Charlotte is our test market. It's our hub. It's where our corporate office is. And so one of the things that we knew, because we were moving into a huge industry with huge brands, that we had sort of one shot to sort of do it right. And we decided that we would do it slow and steady. that we would be driven by metrics, by data. So we didn't want to launch in too many different places at one time, even though we do have plans to launch in some of the other smaller cities in North Carolina, like the Raleigh-Durham area, Greensboro, sort of the Triad Triangle area, what we call. Also some cities in South Carolina, but initially Charlotte will be our test market. We will look at the data. We will see what's here. And I will tell you this, our goals for expansion, we wanted to sort of, in our projection, we were going to go to Atlanta as sort of this rollout, this next expansion rollout. But we, back in March, I think it was, we did a interview with Fox 32 News in Chicago. And after that news interview, we got so much feedback from that community there that when are you coming here? We want you to come. And we were like, no, we don't have plans to come. We just sort of wanted to kind of get our feelers out there. But even from city officials, like I had a conversation with the assistant deputy director of the Regional Economic Development Center, and they were like, let us know, like there are opportunities here. And so we're looking at sort of the Chicago as we also launch in maybe perhaps Atlanta simultaneously, but we do have this amazing 5-year rollout plan for different states like Tennessee and New Orleans and some other places in the country. And we'll just see, we'll follow the data.
Yeah. When we initially just connected, I was so impressed with sort of your mind as far as like the strategic piece of it, right? I have a family member who's one of my best friends who happens to be in marketing, and she's the strategist, right? I'm like the idea person, and I have an idea. This is part of my vetting process, right? Talk to the wife. She may or may not give me a lie initially. I'll try to get my head around some potential, like, pros and cons, right? But I got to take it to Tiana. Shout out to Tiana. And either, typically she'll tear it apart, right? But and she'll put a professional hat on and say, well, you got something, but you need to think about it this way, that. And it's like, oh man, but I've gotten much better sort of from a strategy standpoint, understanding, okay, where do I want to go? How do I work backwards from that? But that's not something natural. The natural piece of my brain is the idea piece.
Yeah.
The plan piece is like, we'll figure that out. But you can't operate that way. Like, where did you get that mindset? Like, have you always been very like, strategy oriented and strategic, or is it something that you've learned over the years?
Yeah. So something I've learned over the years. So I've been a business owner for over 20 years. So this is not my first run at this. I've built a couple of successful businesses, and I failed at more. Yeah. So I've had some epic fails, including my very first business that was in the clothing industry in the mid-90s. I mean, it was my first epic fail, but it was my biggest life lesson because I learned so much. I learned how to negotiate, and I learned distribution and manufacturing. I also learned accounting. I learned a lot of things because I've been operating, by definition, small businesses and never a large corporation. But I also learned how to pivot because when I couldn't no longer sell $800-900 suits, I knew that one thing that I had was the gift of gab. I knew that God had blessed me with a mouth, and I could talk and I could speak. And so I turned it into teaching dress code etiquette. So I went from selling $800-900 apparel items to teaching dress code in corporations and law offices and things like that. So I learned a lot, but strategically, I learned that along the way. It didn't come at once. So it came through failure. It came through learning how to pivot. It came through doing different things and being open to grow and to learn. But because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist by nature, I always have to see a plan.
Hmm.
I don't fall apart when the plan doesn't work. But in
Yeah.
order for me to sort of move the way I like to move, I need to kind of see what's ahead.
Sure.
It doesn't have anything to do with the faith that I have. It's just visually, I'm a very visual person and I have to see a roadmap. So, yeah, so
No.
lots of years of experience in business and failing and succeeding. So,
Yeah. No, that's good. It reminds me of another question I want to ask you, but first I want to talk about like the role that like mentors have played in your life. You've had a number of business ventures, right? I think you called yourself a serial entrepreneur when we first met. Um, Talk about mentors in your life that sort of helped you down some of these paths and help you learn some of these lessons. Maybe warn you about a few things so you didn't have to learn every single one on your own. Anybody that stands out or any people that's been, key?
so one of the things, okay, so I've only been in business with my husband prior to
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was sort of in business with a couple of other people, but those businesses never sort of got off the ground. So this was my first time sort of being in partnership with other people. This was my first time raising capital because my husband and I had always bootstrapped our other businesses. So we sort of relied on each other. We learned, from, people in the industry like, Robert Kiyosaki and Dave Ramsey and all of
Yeah.
these noted professionals and just as it relates to how do we build, how do we restore, how do we take care of our debt, how do we create business
Yeah.
wealth and that kind of thing. Real mentors on this journey that I'm on now, I didn't have early on,
Mm.
other than, books and seminars and getting on platforms. I was actually looking for someone to say, you're crazy. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Like, you
Yeah.
have literally bumped your head. But as time went along, because I had to do the work, usually I'm a person where if something is not available, I go find it.
Yeah.
And so I did. And then I started to connect with other like-minded people. I started to surround myself by people who were smarter, who knew
Yeah.
more, who could sort of share with me certain things. So I've had quite a few mentors, but not one in particular, other than my husband. He's sort of my strategic partner in a way.
Yeah.
Like he's my thought partner. I'll say that.
Yeah. No, that's important. And I had a conversation recently around mentorship, and there was a gentleman who said, a lot of times people are our mentors, they don't even know it,
They
right?
don't even know it.
We pull from people, especially if we're paying attention, and we go, I really like the way that they handled that, or man, the way that they were so prepared for this, or whatever, right? That we start to acquire these things, kind of like these like ornaments,
Yeah.
on a tree, and then next thing you know, it looked like it was patched together, but once we put it together, it looks, we wear it well, right? And you always need sounding boards for.
Absolutely. You have to, because a lot of times we can get arrogant in our thought process that we think we know everything. But I learned very early on to surround myself by people who knew more, who had experienced more, because I'm a student of life.
Yeah.
And anytime I feel like you stop becoming a student of life, is when you start down a road of failure. Because there's
Mhm.
always something to learn from everyone's experience. So
That's right.
yeah, not one name in particular, but many on this
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah. Um, the Just Her Rideshare has a social aspect that I just think is like amazing. Can you talk about that? And again, how did walk me through why the social piece was so important to you?
So, yeah, the social piece is extremely important to me. Even though we're a for profit company, we are on a mission. Every company that I have built, I've always built it around service to others. So I've been sort of in the customer support um, industry for many, many years, whether it was on a quality assurance level or as an SME instructor, training someone how to always take care of your customers. So super important.
Yeah.
But then I've also been a volunteer. I've been a support of my community. I always say I take care of my home. I serve my home. I serve my community. I serve my church because it's really like the most organic part of who I am. Like money and all of those things, I've had them. I've been poor, poor, and I've had some things, but at the root of who I am, I always find joy in what I can do for others. And so
Mm,
I've always built my companies around there. So I knew that going into the industry early on, and for a minute I had to sort of clearly define and not muddy the water. Like,
mm,
are you a for-profit company because you're going to now be dealing with investors? And is it altruism? Is it capitalism? Is
yeah.
all of this? But sure enough, I found my space and I said, yes, we are, because I am in business to make money. But I found a way that we could do it without muddying the water, without making investors feel like, well, get the money first and then you can worry about that. I
Yeah.
felt like we could serve all along. And so the social part of it was extremely important because I knew there was a call to do more. I knew that it couldn't be about a house or a boat or a 10x, 100 million. It couldn't be just about that. It had to be
Yeah.
about impacting lives along the way. And so that's what we decided to do. We got on that path, and we've been on that path from day one because it was clearly defined. It was Windex clear to me what I was supposed to be doing on this journey.
Talk a bit more about specifically like what types of things you guys are doing from a service and social
Okay.
aspect.
So we always tell women that we not only want to ride with you and drive with you, but we want to build community with you because community is so important. And when it comes to women, because we have the platform to be with women, to work with women, I believe that if you take care of a woman, she will naturally take care of her community. She doesn't only take care of her children, but she'll take care of the children down the street. She'll take care of the children around the corner. And so when you empower women and give women an opportunity to grow,
Yeah.
then we naturally are caretakers. And so being able to not only employ women and give women an opportunity to earn some extra income
Yeah.
for their families. And we found out that a lot of women weren't doing it because they were afraid
Yeah.
to sort of drive, at certain hours of the day. So we wanted, and they felt comfortable when it was women drivers and riders together. And so we wanted to create that space. We also wanted to empower. So we wanted to support other women, and we've built out in our community portal called Just Her Hub. We built out sort of these corners, these pockets of how we wanted to serve women. We wanted to give drivers an opportunity to have a community among themselves. We wanted to partner with organizations in the community like companies we've been talking to that we're hoping to build these amazing partnerships, like Safe Alliance, who care for women who are experiencing domestic violence and
Yeah.
sexual assault. We're talking in talks at the beginning stages of talks with partnering with our local hospitals to be able to offer nurses free rides. Of course, we will. That's a campaign that we're going to be doing for during the pandemic and sort of just to give back. But the real core part of our community is resources. It's
Yeah.
supporting other businesses
Yeah.
and just building women up, just giving them
Yeah.
an opportunity to shine.
Yeah. Yeah. And just having that community aspect and those resources, it may sound, if you've never had to ask someone for advice, or we just talked about, right, the importance of being able to go to someone for a recommendation, or someone or a referral, or someone that is maybe experiencing something similar to what you're in or what you've gone through. Those things mean the world.
Yes.
to folks. So that's awesome. It's just so much good stuff because you don't know where else it can lead to, right?
Yes.
When you get people that are service oriented, people that are community oriented together, they start thinking about other ways to serve, right? Things that may
Always.
not even be on your radar today, but next time we talk, you may say, Baxter, guess what? We're doing now what we're working on because um, the people will continue to inspire and have their own ideas for service and what they, how they want to serve, right?
Absolutely. I agree. And I think that if you start to build that type of organization, that type of company, and that become your company culture, then everyone that's connected to you, if they have not been a servant, likely will become a servant because this is kind of the company that you're building. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about that part because that's what feels really natural to me. Going out raising millions of dollars is something I've never done. That doesn't feel natural to me, but this does,
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of, you're still raising funds. Do you have timeline on launch? Are you taking other investors and kind of where are you from a business standpoint?
So from a business standpoint, we are in our pre-seed raise. So we're raising up to 700,000, and we have started. We started about a little over a month ago. So we've raised some funding through friends and family, through crowdfunding platforms, and also we've started to take in some smaller investments, some angel checks. So yeah, been on this is a journey and a challenge. So it's been super tough to really kind of get comfortable with how all of this works.
Yeah,
Because again, remember, I never raised capital before.
yeah,
I never had to. We were just blessed enough to sort of support our own businesses. So this has been quite different, but our mobile app is complete. We have been testing in-house, booking rides, sort of working out some bugs, some kinks.
sure.
And we have one other area in the community portal that we need to build out. We were hoping for to have a soft launch in Q2, but of course, you know how technology is.
Right.
Never set a launch date because it's likely to change.
That's right.
And for me, because technology, this was sort of a new field for me to get into technology. I've learned a lot. I'm super proud of myself
Yeah,
for learning all that I have throughout this process. But for me, I wanted to be very cautious because again, I felt like we had one opportunity to get this right. So I wanted to make
right.
sure that everything is right. So we're working on a couple different things, a couple of campaigns. We're working on driver acquisition and finishing up the mobile app. So we're looking around Q3, and we'll just make sure that we're ready and there, but that's our goal. Not going to say exactly what date right now,
Sure,
but that's
sure.
what we're looking at.
Yeah, and then investors, if people want to learn more, I mean, how does one go about investing if they wanted to?
So we have a couple different things going on. So we have a what we call a non-dilutive type platform going on. It's I Fund Women, a very popular crowdfunding campaign based around sort of like a reward type system, but it is designed for women and in particular women of color who are definitely underserved in this community, in this fundraising game.
Yeah,
So we have something there where you could just give, $5, $10, whatever. There's no equity involved. And then the other is that we're looking for angel investors. So currently, right now, we have a couple of different terms. If you'd like to know more, someone like to know more, please get in touch with me because we have an opportunity where we decided that we wanted to open it up to community. And so we opened up our cap table for some slots for some really low amounts for the community
awesome.
to get involved. But we are going to be cutting it off really soon
Okay.
because We only had so many slots to do that.
Sure.
Ordinarily, we have other terms of investing. And I would love to have a conversation with anyone who is interested in knowing more.
Yeah, yeah. How can people get in touch with you, Kim?
So they can get in touch with us at justherrideshare.com, our website, or they can follow us on all social media platforms at Just Her Ride. And follow us, share with anyone that you can. We want to get the word out that we're here, that we're coming, that we're building something amazing, and we want to make sure that the community goes on this journey with us.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys heard that. Support, share, um, give, invest, and yeah, I'm 100% rooting for you guys. Have zero doubt that this thing is going to be as successful as you want it to be. Maybe even bigger than what you maybe initially thought, because the message is right. Um, in my opinion, your heart is in the right place, right? And who doesn't want a safer place for the women in their life, right? And the opportunity to generate revenue and adding jobs. I mean,
Yes.
and you've somehow now you're in a technology business, right?
Yes.
Which you didn't even see coming. So salute to you, and the other folks that are a part of the team, Just Her Rideshare team. I just want to thank everyone for checking us out. Wherever you're hearing this or watching this, please like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. And yeah, I just want to say until next time, uh, peace.
Thank you, Baxter.
All right.